Good evening. Okay. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes. I can.
Hello?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was switching devices. I had to test it.
Oh, okay. Okay. So should be everyone on. So okay. Okay. I see Jessica just joined us. So I'll give it a few minutes. I'll start the meeting at 7 o'clock. Just to kick things off. Did everyone? Oh, yeah. Did everyone get a chance to read and review the minutes and the agenda?
I'm not clear on your question. You said the minutes of the agenda. Do you mean, did we have an opportunity to review the agenda or did we have an opportunity to review the main minutes?
I said and, so both.
Yeah, I have a correction to the main minutes.
Okay.
I'll wait till you call the meeting to order.
Okay, so that is 7 o'clock. So I'll be calling the meeting to order. So let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. There we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now for roll call. Let's get- Okay. Carmen Rodriguez. Absent. Kimberly Edwards.
Present.
Oliver Augustin, present. Sebastian Bianchine,
Present.
Ronnie Adas,
Present.
George DeYoung, George DeYoung, yeah, I'll give him a chance to come back. Nathan Earl, absent. Kenneth Eskandari, excused absence. He let me know earlier. Jessica Holzer,
Present.
Lisa Kelman. Alyssa Matthews resigned over the last week. Caleb Ortiz Diaz, absent. Marcy Lynn Teague.
Present.
Okay, for the new member, Stephen Urgiles. Am I
Hi.
pronouncing it properly?
Present. Steven Urgiles.
Stephen Urgiles. Okay, present. Angelina Wilson
Present.
and Robin Wilson.
Present.
Okay, we have enough for a quorum. So now let's move to the presentation of and acceptance of the minutes. It is 7:02. Okay. And Angelina, you mentioned earlier that you had an issue with the minutes, a correction to make.
No, this is Robin Wilson.
Sorry, brain fart. long day.
Yeah, yes, I was not present at the May 15th meeting, and I submitted a report which was reported by Angelina on the 15th. And the minutes reflect that I was present.
Okay, I see. So I'd like to make a motion to amend the May meeting minutes to correct the attendance. Are there any other amendments or corrections to be made?
If it doesn't reflect, and I didn't see it, to also reflect under the membership chair report was, I submitted a written report and Angelina reported on the 15th.
Got it. So let's go through the first. Okay, so I'll just combine the motion. So I'd like to make a motion to amend the May meeting minutes to correct the attendance under the roll call and the committee reports. Does anyone second?
Second. That's Angelina, second.
Okay. The motion has been seconded. So let's move this to the to a voice vote. So if everyone is in agreement of amending the May minutes to correct the roll call and the commission reports, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion passes unanimously. Okay. Okay. So upon applying the amendments, the May minutes will be sent out by email for review for the next meeting. Okay, so this will pass. There we go. Okay, it's now 7:06, so we'll just go through the agenda review. So the only new so we're going to cover the financial report, the committee reports, old business. There wasn't a whole lot last month, and for new business, we'll be covering the introduction of a new member. We'll be getting a report on the Data Haven meeting, and we will discuss committee assignments. Now let's move on to the financial report. It is 7:07. So Marcy Lynn, what do you have for us?
I'm sorry, you couldn't see me or hear me. Actually am still waiting for Treasury, believe it or not. Which is kind of crazy. And I didn't know whether while I was gone, you guys came up with any ideas for fundraising. Because we're getting ready to shut down for a little bit, and I just wanted to make sure that we try to do something to fundraise before. But that was all I had.
Okay.
I have something for financial. This is Robin Wilson. I have information to pass along to the financial chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, in speaking with Alder Jeanette Morrison regarding funds from the alders. There are funds that are available that I think I know that an organization that I'm in, we got it for the elderly. They do give funds for elderly and youth. It's not a lot, but you know, we can ask for it. You can make an inquiry. I think Commissioner Edwards, you're older, but I was informed by, so you can help me on this if I'm wrong, but I was informed by Alder Morrison that they do provide, they do have monies to provide. It's not much. I think it's like up to $300 because I know the organization that I'm in, we did get the $300 for elderly, but it's specifically for elderly and youth.
I can,
I
oh,
didn't think
sorry.
of that. I'm sorry. I didn't think of that, but now I remember they do have that. So I can get in touch with Jeanette or Taisha.
It
Find out
would be
when
me that you contact.
Oh,
What they're speaking about is a donation.
Kimberly?
Yes.
Okay, making sure.
You can
I like
email
it.
us. It's not money, like a budgeted money. We fundraise for it.
Mm,
Our annual Black and Hispanic Caucus Gala, it's $100 a ticket. It's in October. That's
Mhm.
how we get the money.
Oh,
And we
okay.
give small donations out. We have a few large ones we give out. As long as we have the money in the pot. We also pay dues. Most of us pay dues.
Mhm.
And that's how we get that money, where we try to help the small community organizations. Super John Williams, like all kinds of organizations, they submit a letter, you know, telling us about their programming.
Mhm.
We vote on it and everything. And that's part of our Black and Hispanic Caucus funds. And that's why we do it. So we can
When
give
is the
small
next
little
time you
donations.
guys meet and have people come in to, do you still have people come in when they sit?
We do, but sometimes as chair, what I do is I'll do a Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we do a lot of meetings in person. So sometimes we'll do it as a Zoom meeting. You know, I don't make people actually come to chambers. And or sometimes if we're not meeting that month, I will oftentimes have like an electronic vote cast. But I can let you just do me a favor. If you're going to draft a letter asking for a donation, take your time, draft it. You can send it to me at Ward 19 and Lucas.
You and Lucas, okay.
Yeah. Or send it to Lucas and he'll send it to me, or you could just do both.
Thank you,
And then I'll let
guys.
you know if we're meeting in person. Thank you for saying that, Judge Wilson.
Thank
Let you know if
and
we are
thank
meeting
you.
in person or not.
Okay, so
There's an aldermanic meeting, I think, on June 23rd.
It's not the
Is it-
aldermanic meeting. It's a special caucus. Our Black.
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's separate from the chambers.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'll let you know either way. Once you submit, we'll let you know if we're meeting in person and need you to come, or if we're going to do it on Zoom.
All
Or if
right,
we're not
and then
that meeting that month, we'll let you know as well.
all right, so we should draft a letter as soon as possible.
And yeah, so when we have funds available, like I said, we vote on it and we give a donation once a year.
Thank you.
Each
And thank you, Judge Wilson, for the wonderful keynote speech at my daughter's graduation, Amistad.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's all about the kids.
Yes, it is. Okay, I look forward to doing that. And Oliver, just stay on hold till you can get everything situated. I don't want you to keep trying to meet me.
No problem. Okay, so it is now 7:12. Let's move on to Finance Committee. So I know you've been busy for the last few weeks.
Yeah. I have.
Okay. So we'll just put that Bank of America meeting on hold for the foreseeable future, or is there any other backup or a workaround?
No, I was thinking about doing another bank, but I think that we have a relationship already with Bank of America. So whenever I can get in there through Treasury, I will let you know. There has to be an easier way. I'm gonna talk to my uncle, like some of the other alders too, Kim, to see why, if there's anything to make it easier for a commission to get a bank account.
Okay. Now for research.
Nothing to report at this time.
Okay. So Jessica, so was there any progress with your end of the research committee work?
Yeah. So we were able to have the meeting with Data Haven. Do you want me to save that for new business or do you want me to give it here?
Save that for new business. So you had the
So let me
meeting,
just update you on some of what's been going on. So we've been trying to identify the strategy for conducting the research that will build the report. So the members of the research committee, I've been emailing a little bit about some strategies there. And I'll update you on the Data Haven meeting once we get to that agenda item. I think broadly speaking, our main task is going to be figuring out as a commission, how do we want to approach producing the report? We've had a variety of different conversations, in recent months as well as further back about the existence of some data sets and the existence of some existing surveys. For instance, Marcy Lynn's work with youth, and we need to figure out sort of what's our mandate for the report and what do we want to put in it. So what I started with is looking to see, are there existing surveys in the world that we could use also? The main limitation is data quality. The main limitation is resources, right? And resources is going to be heavily aligned to data quality, right? So could we survey people? Sure. But would that survey tell us what we really want to know? I think that's the question that is open and that I'd like to bring to the commission after I have the conversation about the Data Haven. So that's the update on my side. I found some potentially useful pieces of information, but nothing that really screams, this is great. And I think that's something we're going to have to wrestle with.
Okay. And Rania, so anything from your end under research?
Sorry, what was the last part?
I was just asking
Wi-Fi's a bit.
I was asking if there was anything that you had seen or noticed from your position on the research committee.
Nothing in particular. Actually, I wasn't even able to attend the last the Data Haven meeting because I had another commitment that night, but nothing really on my end.
Okay. So now let's move on to outreach, which one? Okay, so since Lisa isn't here, so yeah, Jessica, did you manage to reach out to Lisa about anything that's going on with the outreach committee?
I didn't get much more about that. We haven't been able to make progress on that. I thought Lisa was planning to be here tonight, but beyond that, we weren't able to do anything. I know you had sent the report, but nothing more really came of that, unfortunately. I think that maybe is a sort of decision for the commission in terms of how we want to move forward with expectations and like what we will do between meetings as well. That's where it stands right now, unfortunately.
Okay. And then lastly, for membership committee. So Robin, so I know we have a new member today. Did you speak to either the mayor's office or the board of alders for any other issues with recruitment?
Let me give my report on membership, and it may, if anybody has any questions, after I give the report, they may ask me. So with respect to membership, the number one thing is Alicia has, she just submitted her resignation, so I will be in touch with, with the mayor's office for another youth appointment, because that just came through. So I didn't have time to really be in touch with him, or Javier, I think is his name, that I've been in contact with. So that's one thing. So then in terms of reappointments, I don't know who was up for reappointment. I'm all set. I don't know whoever else was up, and I don't have to attend the aldermanic meeting on June 23rd. I just got that that email in to go before the board, the Alder board. And then I did speak with Alder Morrison about the concern of the the membership and the fact that we have to adhere to party balance. And I asked her if she can look into, and I ask all of you if you have members that are independents or Republicans. I know Chair Oliver, you submitted names and that was fruitful. And anybody else who has or knows of youth members that can be recommended for appointment to the board to replace Alicia, or adult members that can that are independent or Republicans, because we have to have a party balance. There's no way around that. None that I'm aware of in speaking with the mayor. Then lastly, I just want to give a gentle, friendly reminder to folks to attend meetings, because the bylaws does speak on unexcused absences from meetings. And Article 5, Section 10 speaks on if you miss, I believe it's 3 unexcused, you can't vote. And if your unexcused absence will be considered a leave of absence. Now, it's up to the chair to enforce, the chair and the commission to enforce that. If the chair and the commission agrees that that provision should be enforced, I, as chair of membership, have no qualms with sending out letters as long as I get the correct number of unexcused absences. So, but that's up to the chair and the commission whether they want to enforce that provision. That's all I have in my report. Any
Okay.
questions?
I don't have any questions. Does anyone else have any? Okay, so I guess it's just a general comment in regards to enforcing the attendance. We're at some point we're gonna have to. I want to say that it is demoralizing to see essentially what is an annoying process of getting your name submitted by the mayor, waiting for the Board of Alders to go through your application, get voted on, get confirmed. And then this is all ultimately a volunteer position. We're all here because we want to be, we want to do something. And these are slots that could go to other people that are interested, that want to show up to meetings, that want to get work done. So I'd say for next meeting, that'll be July.
I don't think we're meeting in July, right, Oliver? Or did we decide to work over the summer?
I know historically, and this commission can decide what they want to do. Historically, we don't meet July and August. But if
Okay,
you
so
want to meet in the summer, that's up to the commission.
okay, so it's July and August,
Or a recess month?
the off months. I'd say, yeah. So I'd say we can we'll keep July and August as the off months. So this will be the last meeting. And then I'm just gonna have to speak with the members in question if they're truly interested in remaining on the board, on the commission. If they're not, then we can discuss something, whether it's them stepping down or finding someone to replace them. And if not, then first thing in September, we're going to have to go through and start sending out these letters. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah. I think that's fair. I also think, you know, the other thing, oh, did I talk over somebody? The other thing to think about is participation on committees and leadership on committees. There could be a warning protocol where we say individuals who aren't actively attending these meetings, you know, there's a concern about leadership, because I think we do have that issue as well. We have people who are chronically absent, not people who, you know, life happens, but people who are chronically absent who are also chairs of various committees. And I think that's something for us to think about as a first step as well. Maybe a little bit of a flag to them.
Okay, so I can leave that for under new business. I can reassign new committee chairs. Let me bring up pause. Okay. So that's okay. So does anyone else have any questions or comments for any of the committee reports? Okay, hearing nothing. So let's move on to old business. It is 7:24. So I'll bring up. There we go. So last month, we had a brief discussion on sponsorship letters and the commissioner outreach. So we had discussed forming task groups for restaurant fundraising partnerships, and Marcy Lynn proposed engaging the alders for local events and budget input. For new business, it is now 7:25. So let's start with the new member introduction. So Stephen. Hey.
Yeah. Hi everyone. My name is Steven Urgiles Noguera. I've been living here in New Haven for almost 4 years. I currently work at Amazon. I'm studying bookkeeping certification and as well English as a second language at Gateway College. I have a bachelor degree in business administration from Ecuador. I decided to join to the Youth Commission because I enjoy working with students, working with the community. Back in college, I was president of my university and I was part of this board for 3 years. And I organize events and programs to support students. And yeah, I'm happy to be here and I'm excited to can help in this. Thank you.
Well, thanks for coming aboard. And it is 7:27. So Jessica, how was the Data Haven meeting?
It was really good. So to just update everybody, what the research committee, you know, my background is in public health research, and so I take the quality of the report that we would generate as a commission pretty seriously. I want to make sure we have high quality data that captures a range of youth experiences in the city. And so I talked about this a little bit with some of the members of the committee, and there were some emails going around. And one of the things that I've been thinking about is building our relationships with various organizations throughout the city that have capacity. I think the reality from our commission is that it's not necessarily going to be available to all of us, that we be doing, we talked about doing surveys in the community. We talked about doing clipboard surveys, those types of things in the community. And that's an option. That's something we can choose to do. But I want us to be really aware of the limitations of all of that. So I started by talking to Mark Abraham, who is the executive director of Data Haven. And Data Haven is a wonderful resource, actually, in the state of Connecticut altogether. It's down on Chapel Street. Mark is a resident of New Haven. And actually has a master's in public health from Yale as well, which he just recently got. So he and his team at Data Haven have collected data on a range of different issues, well-being, children, all sorts of stuff for New Haven as well as other parts of the state. And so he's really deep in knowledge in terms of like how to collect high quality data and how to generate high quality reports. He was very hesitant about the conversation with respect to a clipboard survey. His main concerns were that a clipboard survey would limit us in terms of the types of questions we can ask because we're in public and we're asking children in public questions. There may be issues that they face in the community that are meaningful to the Youth Commission that we would hesitate to ask in a group setting or where they might be overheard by anybody, really. And so that's one limitation. The other limitation is that people tend to be sort of on their way to something out in community events, and they might only be willing to answer. He says they typically limit themselves to one single page, which results in about 3 to 4 questions. So that's available to us, right? And I want to be really clear, as a commission, we can choose to take all that on. I don't mean to say that I know for a fact that that's not what we want, but I think we need to understand the strengths and the weaknesses of any type of data collection approach. He had a very interesting suggestion, which had never come up in my brain, which is kind of embarrassing to me, actually, which is that we have the power to request of the mayor that the mayor have the executive offices submit data about their contacts with youth. So he had an interesting idea, which I'd like to put to the committee to discuss, or the commission to discuss, which is, what if we requested, because we are advisory to the mayor's office, we are advisory to the city executive branch, what if we asked the mayor to request that all agencies produce some report over some period of time, maybe take over the summer, on youth programming, youth contacts, ways in which they are interacting with youth in the city. He thought that could be a powerful resource. And I think this gets to, Angelina was talking about, I think it was Angelina, if my memory is serving, about, like a resource guide in the city, things that are out there that are touching youth. I think one challenge we have is, the library may be doing stuff, whether or not that gets in the New Haven Youth Summer Guide, which just went out. I haven't reviewed it closely to know whether or not it's really comprehensive or if it's very focused on like parks and youth or police athletic league, or sort of what the approach is to it. So he had that suggestion as a way of approaching from a very different angle rather than the on the street, but instead really looking at how is the city serving youth. And a couple of things that could benefit is that now we'll know who are the players, and as a commission we'll have contacts. They'll know of us, we'll know of them, to get a sense of what's being done. And it's possible that some people have that information, right? People who are closer in to the city might have more of a sense of that. I don't think that's shared. I certainly don't have it as a commissioner, and I don't know that that's shared in the community very widely, but I'm happy to be proven wrong. So that was his recommendation. Subsequent to that, I did look for, like I said earlier in the brief, I looked for some existing high quality surveys, and especially as we discussed in the last meeting, surveys that have already been translated into Spanish because of the nature of the populations in New Haven. I hesitate to only deliver anything in English. I want to make sure that we're capturing, when we say we're capturing youth, that we're actually capturing youth. Right, we're not capturing a subset who, by convenience, were in a location that we went to. So I really do want to make sure we do a fair job by all of the youth in the city, but also as a commission, we can make a decision that we want to focus on a subset. I think we just need to be very direct about it. If we're looking at youth who are absent from schools, we're never going to capture them in a school survey, right? So these are things that I want to make sure that we're very aware of when we're proposing what we want to report on. And I'd like to sort of bring that to the commission to discuss so that we make some choices about it. And I'm happy to use the summer to try and make progress on that. I think unless we're taking a survey instrument, for instance, that Marcy has previously used with another organization, it's going to be really hard for us to roll out a survey that we feel confident about the data for this summer. We can do that, but I'd be hesitant to just do that as a box checking exercise and instead really think about taking the time to do it well.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
No, Rania, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, and this is kind of reflective of I haven't been able to devote as much time as I would have liked to this in the past month, but I am also willing to actually work on this over the summer. I would actually be really interested in that. But I wanted to ask that when we're talking about like the youth survey, what is the age range exactly for this? Is it like including elementary school, or is it like I know some people go into the 20s when they're talking about youth. What is the exact age range for this? Do we know, or?
So I think no, we don't know is the ultimate answer. We choose, right? So that would be, if we wanted to individually collect data, we would have to say, what would that look like? My understanding is that the Youth Commission addresses the population under the age of 19 or 19 and under in the city. That's our mandate. I think we often are focused on teenagers because of the experiences and some of the particularly pronounced experiences that I think teenagers have in the city in terms of that proto-adult experience, where exposure to, work opportunities, violence exposure, absenteeism, those sorts of things that maybe is a little bit different than you'd see in a younger population. But I think that's a choice that we have to make. Do we want to focus on a specific subset of youth, or do we want to take everybody under the age of 19? And Mark had some interesting ideas about of ways in which we think about early childhood too, and how we get connected to early childhood. So those are all conversation items that I think we need as a commission to make a decision about.
Right, because I was thinking of CCM, the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities. Their most recent report, it was called Young People First, and the age range that they had for that, because they were talking more about youth disconnection and like employment opportunities, which you were mentioning, right? They were talking more about like from 14 to 26 years old, so that's a very different demographic.
Yeah, our mandate is 19 and under, but and that's one of the things that Mark also mentioned. He doesn't have a lot of great data on youth, in part because asking questions of people under the age of 18 requires assent or consent of an adult, a guardian of some variety. And it can be it can be a really big hassle. And so it tends to be, sorry, that's my cat. It tends to be initiated through the school system. The school system is a challenge because it leaves out youth who are not in the school system, which is a subset of youth that I think we as a commission must be concerned about. I think we know that youth who are not engaged in the school system, who are of an age to be engaged in the school system, is a subset of youth that the Youth Commission should have an eye to and should be thinking about how we're addressing that in a community because of all the subsequent things that can come about from that.
Right.
Okay, so
Marcy's got her.
oh, okay, sorry, I didn't see that. Marcy?
Hey guys, I'm sorry, fighting with the mute button. So in the interim, we went through that. I literally came up with a 3-question survey, which is something you can say, you got a minute to fill out the survey, scan this QR code. And it literally has 3 questions on it. It says name or anonymous. They put their city area. Next question is, are you safe? And the answers are yes, no, other, and not sure. The last question, the most valuable question, which I give you a paragraph or two to write in, and you have to type it so we can read it, is what's a major concern of yours, family, and please be honest. Now, you got a QR code on your phone, you see youth in the area. Hey, can you do me a favor? I've got 3 questions on the survey. Just scan this QR code, just like I have them scan my email or scan my business card now. And that's something that we can consider. Because I have the document, the Google Doc, and then we just make a QR code. And if we're gonna be off for the 2 months, a great idea is that when we come back, if we use the QR code, we've done, gotten something out the box done.
I so that has the benefit of having more data attached to it. The really big challenge is what does that data mean? Like, how do we take action on that data?
What are we gonna do about it? If
Yeah.
a whole bunch of kids say they're hungry, whole bunch of kids say they're hungry, it's summertime, we know it's summertime and food impoverished, and that
Well,
is something we need to look at for our youth.
That's the other challenge though, right? Because we don't know, like we don't have
Excuse me, whoever is talking, can you please mute yourself or
Yeah,
on the
please.
background?
I think it's background noise. Yeah, so the rolling out a survey like that runs the risk of presenting that as true of all youth in the city. And we can make a choice to just get it done, right? Absolutely. I don't want to suggest we can't. We can make a choice to get it done. The downside of that type of survey is that it's not representative, right? It's a convenient sample. It's who shows up was one, right? So who do we bump into? Where am I? Where are you? Where are we? Right? And I'm going to bump into a very different group of people than you are, right? So just because of my neighborhood, those sorts of things. And that could be a benefit actually. So that's one question. Oh, Marcelin, I think you're talking and you're muted.
There's one thing I wanted to say, and the question that I ask basically is what area they live in, which is the Hills, the Ville, Beaver Hills, etc. I put up there. And it gives us an opportunity to see maybe in the Hill, they don't have food. And maybe we have an area that's dealing with a lot of domestic violence, and this child has finally gotten a chance to tell us that that's what's going on in their home. So we're not asking them to give up. We're just taking the areas of New Haven with the surveys that come in on this form and doing the best we can to all the ones that are like. But it's just something that we can do. Of course, we're going to see different people because we go different places, but that's the point of the survey. We don't want to just get
the reason that I'm hesitating about it, right, is that so you have somebody who, and this gets into sort of survey design stuff. So I invite somebody to complete a survey. They may or may not download the QR code. They may or may not answer that, like all the questions. The people who answer the questions are probably very different than the people who don't. Even among the people I actually interact with. So my main concern is we just have to include that is not a report on the youth of New Haven. That is a report on the youth who respond to the survey that we see in New Haven. And that is data. It's useful information to some degree. But one of the challenges is, right, like, I want to hesitate to say, okay, the kids in Beaver Hills are going hungry. If what we have is 5 kids who respond to the survey who are going hungry, those 5 kids absolutely are going hungry. I just don't know that we can say that that means the kids in Beaver Hills are going hungry. That's part of the concern, right? And I realize this is sort of, it's a bit inside baseball to be like, well, if 5 kids are going hungry, we need to address that. Absolutely. Don't disagree with you. It's more a question of, one, okay, so say we did do that. We're like, we acknowledge that we're only seeing these 5 students who report, right? These 5 kids who report in Beaver Hills, or 10 even, right? Among those 10, we see they're reporting domestic violence, they're reporting, food insecurity, they're reporting those sorts of things. One thing automatically I'm seeing from that survey is it's already to the negative. right? We're not asking about things that are going well. That is something that I think we need to pay attention to. There may be things that are resources that we want to make more of because that's actually going well and people are happy with that. As a commission, we would want to think about. I always have to check myself on having this sort of like things are bad framework and sort of getting stuck in that thinking. And I want to encourage the commission to consider whether or not even the questions themselves lead us to emphasize the negative and miss the positive. Not to say that there's got to be positive, but we won't see it if we don't ask about it. So that is a concern. And then once we say, like, say we see it, we see all this negative, and then what? So we tell the city, we did a survey.
No. Oh, this is my question.
Yeah.
Guess what? And then what means? It means we decide together as a commission what we want to do to take action. Now, I understand, like you said, we both go to different places, but having the opportunity for a teen to type anonymously into a form and get something that's going on out is a way to help them. So we got that information, even giving the opportunity for them to vent is an opportunity for our kids. So these couple of questions, yeah, this is what's going on with our kids. We're in Gen Z right now is taking off because they're literally, the ones that are going to have their own businesses and not need to, work corporate. But having the opportunity for these kids to say, yes, I'm not safe. I'm not sure if I'm safe. And then go on to it. And then at the end of it, we could put different support numbers. I mean, I get a list every month,
What do you mean different support numbers?
like 988 if you're suicidal, and suicide prevention line is 988, and 211 if you need a clinician immediately, because they'll send somebody out. But just giving that opportunity, and I understand that you feel like it should have some rainbows and unicorns in it, but we're not there. We're not there as a city.
Might I add this is Angelina? I agree with what both of you all are saying. To answer your question, Jessica, yeah, I had suggested the resource mapping. So I like the idea of finding out what's out there in the city. We also want to keep the survey as simplistic as possible. So I do like, that Marcy's suggestion for the survey is some simple questions that they could answer, easily, quickly. We don't want to, make it too difficult for kids to not want to complete, and it won't hold their attention. In the world of AI and technology, I don't have this capacity, but maybe some of our younger people do. Once they answer the survey, and we get our resource guide together, maybe we could get a digital form. They answer the survey, and then the response to that survey, this digital form of resources, will then come on their phone. I don't know if we could even make it so where the resources that equate to how they answer pop to the phone, come on to respond, to their survey. That's just my thought process, but I love the idea of reaching out to those communities that are serving our youth, finding out, what they're doing, if they have capacity to take on, more individuals, and then, getting this survey out so we can kind of just get a pulse of what's happening in the city. I know, like we talked about, it's our most vulnerable youth right now that we are prioritizing, but all youth are, who we're concerned about. That's just my thoughts on that. But I think it's a wonderful idea. I think it's a good starting point. Jessica, did he say how we could reach out? I remember you said the office of the mayor, they would reach out to youth service areas.
So I think that would come from Oliver, frankly, from the chair, making a request of the mayor. And, Judge Wilson, I know you have a personal relationship with the mayor. I have something of a personal relationship with the mayor. So to, we might want to begin with a conversation with the mayor about it. We might want to begin by sort of getting him on board before we make, an out of the blue request. But I think, the idea that Mark had, and, again, it's just an idea, and we as a commission have a right to modify it, choose, put some from column A, some from column B, but, is to focus where the mayor is going to have the most ability to changes, and to prepare for future budget fights or budget conversations, maybe by, for instance, seeing that and trying to press for things like that. It's a strategy, and they don't have to be mutually exclusive.
Sorry, Jessica. Whoever is unmuted, can you mute yourself, please?
If you make me a co-host, I can go mute people. I'm good at muting people.
Unfortunately, I do not have the authority in this
Okay.
chat.
Do you, because normally the co-host or you can do it or somebody. All right.
Yeah, I don't think any of us is actually empowered as a co-host. I totally lost the train.
And we were talking about, at the last meeting, I talked about resource mapping, identifying where the communities are that are serving youth. And then you were providing some insight from, I think his name was Mark, on how he spoke of other ways that we can do it, because we talked about looking about the Great Give, and that was a part of my report at the last meeting, that we need to identify where the resources are. From that, we'll be able to respond to these surveys to let families, communities, and youth know where they can get help. So you were just sharing on ways on how we can do this in another way by going through the mayor for the mayor's support.
And that would be the mandate there would be specific to city, right? So I think when we were talking about resource mapping, we might have been seeing things that were like nonprofits that may or may not have, like they might not show up, right? So if they're not partnering with a city agency, they're just doing their thing, we might not see them if we ask the mayor. Like, I think we have to pay attention to the lens, like who has access to what information to share with us. And I'm thinking we probably can't get it all done in one report round. We probably will want to think about, like, let's start here. And maybe we start with Marcy's, right? Like, maybe we start with, like, let's just do this quick and dirty QR code survey, acknowledging it has limitations. Everything has limitations, right? I'm not trying to suggest that there's a perfect way to do it. I just want to make sure that we're not overstating what we get. And, I did want to respond, Marcy, to your point about just allowing kids to vent is its own help. I hear that. I've also heard from a lot of communities, I'm a white person, obviously. I've got a PhD, and so I do community-based participatory research, and a key complaint that I hear from communities that have participated with Johns Hopkins or Yale or others is, you always come out and survey us, we give you our information, and we get nothing back from it. So that's the lens I'm a little concerned about, sort of going and asking questions and then not being able to show follow through. That is concerning to me, that it might not be received as an opportunity to vent. It might just be sort of one more way that people are taking information. Now, obviously, this is very different. I'm not coming under the aegis of a researcher with a major institution that has its walls up in the city, but still, that's where my concern is coming from. It's just, I want to be able to close the loop. I want to be empowered to do something about it once we get some data, whatever that data says.
Okay. So far we've heard we've heard about different angles of this position. So I guess to try to narrow things down, we should focus on high schoolers just as a demographic. So I guess between the ages of 15 and 19, just as a start. Middle schoolers, it's going to be trickier since while they're also going to require consent forms, I think it's going to be easier to get permission from parents when it comes to asking questions of their teenage children rather than their middle school children. And then in regards to the survey, starting the survey off on the right foot is going to be very important. And the main issue that I see Jessica is bringing up is it is very easy for whoever happens to show up to distort the results so that we end up producing or we end up providing uh misleading advice, because at our core we're an advisory to the mayor. We are going to be making suggestions to the mayor's office, possibly the board of alders or anyone else who's listening to us. And so we need to make sure that when we make a public statement as a commission, we are as accurate as we possibly can be. So in regards to the initial survey, probably not the QR survey just yet. Maybe if we get some more experience under our belt and we can actually start to produce stuff on our own. But I think it would be better off for us to make use of an existing survey that has already been reviewed and tried out. And then from there, we can start to get some results that would be less affected by any potential random factors. Rania?
Yeah, so I was gonna ask that if we do choose to focus on sort of the high school age group, if we're surveying like kind of that demographic, how would surveying work? Like, would it be sent through the schools, like through high schools to the students, or would we want, because I feel like there's a lot of different ways that we could do this. I think there's also like the approach that we could go neighborhood by neighborhood and do that. Because I think also like different neighborhoods in New Haven have like some have access to more resources than others, and I think that's also a consideration when we're thinking about like youth needs across the city.
So in terms of what we can do, while the clipboard option isn't going to scale very well because that would require a number of us to be able to hit the streets, specifically go to the schools and see if we can either set up like a card table or anything like that. I believe the first thing we should do is reach out to the mayor, get the list of any organizations that are partnered or are involved with the youth in some way. So that way we have a list of people that are already doing something. And then we'll go through the list and see if someone else is already working on this or has already worked on this, and therefore we have something to build off of. If after going through that list, then there is literally no one, what we're doing is a first time attempt, then I think we should move forward with reaching out to the schools and then organizing a way for us to, rather than having to chase down the families and the students, we should instead have a way to work with the schools to get the surveys done at a point where as many students as possible are in one place as possible. So we'll have that bulk of information, and then to fill in any gaps, then we can go probably not neighborhood by neighborhood, but at the very least going let's say going door to door and trying to get information from the students or from the kids that aren't regularly attending the school so we can fill in any gaps. Does anyone have any questions or any comments with this potential plan?
Well, it's Angelina, I know we said high school, but would we consider even maybe entertaining middle school starting in like 7th and 8th grade? The thing is, because by the time they get to high school, sometimes so much has already happened. And if we can just capture them, a little bit earlier, because during those years they're, deciding which way to go. And I think that that's a couple of that 7th and 8th grade year is pivotal in many young people's lives.
I've only set a limit at high schools just to address the realities of our manpower. Like, there's a very good chance that if we're going to be doing the surveys, it's going to be us. So we have to be cognizant of we don't have that much manpower to work with. Hitting the high schools is at least feasible with the people that we have.
Would it be better? Would it be more advantageous for us to just project our energies towards the 3, 4, 5 high schools rather than to try to do a community or neighborhoods or door to door? What are the possibilities of like I said, projecting or aiming our energies to the high schools in particular?
Yes, that's going to be the main focus. But it brings up the issue that Jessica brought up before, where if we limit the surveys to the high schools, it's only going to be capturing information from the students that are already regularly or at least semi-regularly attending. Any of the students or the households that have kids that have like completely dropped out of the system, they wouldn't be captured. So first, we should get as much information we can from the schools as possible in order to build the survey. And then for any gaps, let's say we go to a high school and they let us know that they have, I don't know, 50 students that are truant or something. Then we'd follow up that way. Yeah, Jessica?
Yeah. I also want to mention there are existing surveys of youth that are run by, I mean, we know the schools run existing surveys that are local, but there are nationally representative surveys that survey youth in Connecticut. So the American Community Survey is a pretty good one run by the Census Bureau. We also have the Youth Risk Behavior Surveillance System, the YRBSS, that is specifically focused on youth. So one of the other things that I think the commission should consider is connecting with something like the CARE team at Southern. So researchers, you and I in the public, right, not under a research aegis, can access data at a level that's sort of higher than neighborhood because of identifiability questions. And so in order to have questions about, you know, stuff that is sensitive, they won't give it to us at a block or neighborhood level. They'll only give us maybe code and sometimes only at like the town level. Or in this case, I'm looking at the congressional district, which I think is going to be a little too large for us to comfortably look at as a commission. But I do think another thing for us to think about is over the summer, Yale 100% has access to this data. There are researchers at Yale in the Restricted Data Center, which is over on, I don't know, the Pretty Drive, Hill House, that one. So over there's a restricted data center. It has access to the like house level information. We're going to need to get connected. You know, this is not the area that I tend to work in professionally, and so I don't have that access. But I think if we think about partnering with somebody, you know, CARES is jointly between Southern and Yale, and so there may be somebody there. I would like to outreach to them. If anyone objects, please let me know. But I think that's a place also to think about, can we get access to better data than just generally are available in the world to people who aren't within a research institution and aren't protected by IRB and HIPAA and those sorts of things. Because that's one thing, you know, like talking about surveying youth and talking about asking them questions about, do you feel safe? I would be incredibly cautious about anything that can tie back to that student or that kid, right? Because if you get a kid who does tell you they don't feel safe and that data ever gets out, you could increase their not safeness. And I would hate for us to be at all affiliated with any of that. So I would really want us to, I realize it adds a barrier, but I think it's an important barrier for us to be sensitive to. And I want to make sure that, you know, I think we can partner with individuals that can supplement what we as the commission have. Our great asset is that we are empowered by the city, right? The city is looking to us for things. And so we can talk to people with the motto of, we are the youth commission for the city of New Haven. But we might need to talk to some others in the area. And we're so deep in researchers. I mean, swing a cat and you hit one. So I think we shouldn't have too much trouble actually finding somebody who would be willing to work with us. Maybe they'll even be hungry for it because of that imprimatur of the youth commission name. So that's another proposal that I would make for the summer. And anyway, okay, no, I'll stop talking. I've clearly been thinking about this since our last meeting.
Okay, so off the top of your head, do you know what organization within Yale is researching youth related issues?
So I don't have that like top of head. CARE is where I would start, because CARE is the community research and education group. It was previously at Yale. It's now sort of jointly between Yale and Southern. Alicia Santilli was the executive director, and now I think she's like some super executive, and there's somebody else in the executive role. But I'm happy to reach out to them and find out who's working on this and see if we can get somebody who's willing to work with us on this, who has access to the block level data or zip code level data that would give us, because I'd hate to aggregate, right? Like, as we're talking about youth issues in the city, I have a daughter, she's here. She is not facing the youth issues in the city that we're surveying, right? for now, she is not facing hunger, which is better, right? Like, so I want to be really sensitive to the fact that if we aggregate across a bunch, East Rock is tied in with, Dixwell, you might wash away some of the stuff that you'd be looking for to see in terms of concerns we might want to address. So I want to be sensitive to that. But I think we could get some high quality data that's maybe even to that block level where we would see that, I don't know, the 500 block of Prospect has this type of issue. The 400 block does not have that same issue, right? We might be able to get to that level, but we'd have to have a researcher who's got access to the restricted data. And I can reach out to the restricted data center too, to see if they can put us in touch with a researcher who's doing youth related work. I don't know if they sort of keep topic areas as a list, but I'll happily reach out to them.
Okay, so this has been a productive discussion. So I want to say my main takeaways is, first, we're going to be limiting the survey to high school age teens just to start out with. So between 15 and 19. I'll ask the mayor to request city agencies to produce a list of all of their youth related data, organizations, and resources. So we can create a resource map. And then we'll contact some of the researchers at CARE from Southern in order to begin working with block level restricted data so that we can get this survey off the ground. Does anyone else have any questions or comments to add with this game plan?
Well, I think we should also talk to the mayor. I think we should.
Yeah, that's going to be the first thing I do.
Okay, great.
Okay.
And I would just like to invite the research subcommittee, if we can, to actually hold meetings over the summer. I know Nathan's not on today. He and I were talking about getting coffee just to sort of introduce ourselves. But I'm happy to start to convene some conversations. The other thing is that I may have access to some research assistants from the University of New Haven. I know we have youth on the commission, and I don't want to block them from having opportunities that they want, but I also know this is a volunteer position. I could, if the commission is comfortable with it, see if there are high quality research assistants, either at the bachelor's or the master's level, who'd be willing to dedicate 150 hours. That's what the internship length is, to doing something like going and looking for data, filling in where the commissioners themselves, because of full-time jobs and other things going on, can't necessarily dedicate that time. So I'd just like to make sure that the commission is comfortable with me sort of sharing our work with someone who's not a commissioner and might not be a resident of the city of New Haven before I take action on that.
So in regards to the would you say 150 volunteer hours. So how would that work out? Would we have to write a letter? Would there be like a recommendation process or something, or?
Yeah, so probably what we would do is we would have you or I, and I'm happy to sort of be the director of the thing. I think it would be better for them to, like, counting the hours, for instance, right? They would report to you or I, this is what I did, this is the number of hours it took, that sort of thing. And then we would certify those hours. So we would have, the task would be coming up with a plan of what the tasks would be, right? You will help with researching to prepare for a report. You will help to supply background research on these things. You will bring information to, Chair Augustin 2 weeks before the meeting, whatever it is, right? And then we would have that student agree to those things. You would agree, all through a system that is existing at the University of New Haven. They would then do weekly or every other week reports about, these are the things that I did, this is the time it took, those sorts of things, to me, to you, to whoever is the designee. And we could leverage that. Our students tend to be very hungry for opportunities like that. It's very much in the wheelhouse of public health students in particular to do looking up survey data, connecting with community partners, those sorts of things. And it would multiply a little bit the number of hours available, as most of us are parents ourselves, caregiving for older parents. There's a lot of stuff going on. So it's a proposal that could potentially be fruitful if people are interested in it. And Oliver, they could help you. I mean, if you'd like assistance, right, preparing minutes, preparing agendas, those sorts of things, that's absolutely something that we could have an assistant to the commission do, unless someone sees some reason why that's not available to us. But I feel like if we can open a bank account as a commission, we can, bring on a volunteer.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds interesting. I wonder if there's I wonder if there's an equivalent program with any of the other universities here in the city.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Yale and Southern both. Quinnipiac, is in Hamden, but probably also all of them have MPH programs. Masters in Public Health is what I mean when I say that. And so public health students are hungry for exactly this. Part of the reason I'm on this commission is because of my background in public health. And so that's absolutely a possibility and something that we could work on. And it's probably better for me not to work on that just because of my affiliation with the University of New Haven, but I could certainly talk somebody through how they would start to build those relationships. Without
So you said masters in public health?
Masters in Public Health is obvious to me, but it's not exclusive, right? You have social work at Yale. There's a range of different places. Students typically are required to do some form of a research project or some form of internship, both of which could potentially provide value to the commission.
Okay, I will keep that in mind. So does anyone else have any questions or comments to bring up?
I wanted to say that I don't know if all of you saw it, but the recent the student walkout, like New Haven Public School students did that walkout because of, I think, like funding cuts, something like that. And I mean, I'm not saying that that should be like completely the focus of our survey or of the report, but I'm just saying that like that might be something important to touch on, I think. Yeah.
So are you asking if we should report on this event or if we should, I don't know, reach out to anyone that was involved? So what are you looking for in regards to the student walkout? Because I'd heard about it, but I was busy with work, so I wasn't able to look into it too deeply.
I think Ronnie is frozen.
I'm sorry, something weird happened. I had to disappear for a minute to get back on.
I'm leaving my.
Okay, so I'll just give Rania a second to log back in. Okay, so let me copy this link.
Sorry, my internet cut out again.
I think
No problem.
Oh no, I was more talking about I think because I do know that there are a lot of like they're gonna lay off a bunch of teachers. I think like 130, something like that, something around that number. I don't know if this is something that's typically done in surveys because I'm not an expert in this at all, but I think it would be kind of interesting to have some sort of like student perspectives as well. And I guess they could be like anonymous as well. Um, but just to really highlight kind of the realities, sort of, that students are facing in the wake of these funding cuts.
Hmm. I don't know if that would work as a survey, but maybe something similar to what do you call it? Like a letter to the editor. So if we sat down with some of the students and got their opinions, got their feedback on how they're dealing with these budget cuts, that might be something interesting to publish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to think about that because we might not have the bandwidth to do something like that, but it's also because of how topical it is, it's better to hit something like that sooner than later. Um, yeah, I got to think about that. Okay, so I just note that, and that might be something we can take a look at over the summer. So it is 8:14. So last section for new business is committee assignments. So uh, okay. Uh, okay, so in regards to Article 7 covering the committees, so really the only responsibility of the chair is to appoint the chairs of the subcommittees within 1 month of the chair's election, or in the case of the committees created during the chairs, which you don't have to worry about that within 15 days. Okay, but the key section is that all committee chairs shall serve at the pleasure of the chair. So I can reorganize the chairs based off of the attendance records, just to make sure that we actually have some activity in these subcommittees. So I'll go through, clean up the attendance sheet, and I'll wrap all of that together in the September meeting in regards to what we're going to do for attendance with chronically absent members and reorganizing the committees to make sure that they're actually focused on, sorry about that, focused on producing work. Does anyone have any questions or comments regarding the setup for future committee assignments? Okay, and let me go through the list. And right now, the only members that aren't on a committee of some sort, so that would be George and Stephen. Are either of you interested in joining any of the committees?
I am. I'd like to do a little bit. I'd like to be clear on what it is I'm doing before I jump into it. That's all. I just like to have a better understanding of what I'm doing, what the expectations are of me.
Okay. So George, first place to start would be to go through the bylaws and just review Article 7. So at the very end, that'll be Section 5 covering the standing committees. So that'll cover the main duties, and I already have 2 tasks assigned to each committee. to start with. So those are going to be the only two tasks to focus on. They're going to be long form missions. But if you're wondering like what are going to be the specific responsibilities, best bet would be to ask some of the existing members. I can sit down with you one-on-one to bring this in greater detail. And Stephen, are there any, wait, is he? No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like help in outreach committee. I think.
Sorry about that. Can you repeat that? There are people, I think, drag racing outside.
Yep. I said I would like join in outreach committee. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Outreach. Sure. So I can just assign you to outreach and then I'll put you in the email chain. And I just need to make a note. Okay, so that is all I've got for committee assignments. It is getting late, so I am making a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting. Anyone second?
Second.
Okay, so everyone in favor of adjourning tonight's meeting, please say aye.
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 And that's it. It is 8:19, and thanks for coming out to tonight's meeting, everyone.
Thanks, Oliver.
No problem. So everyone enjoy your summer break. I hope that you guys will be able to meet up with your subcommittees. Even if it's something as simple as just like going out for coffee just to discuss some things and just keep the tasks fresh in your mind. I'll be working on getting in touch with the mayor to see if we can get this information rolling about what the city departments have done in regards to the youth. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. Also, we have the YouTube. Yeah, so we have the YouTube channel that is active. I've been uploading the recordings of the meeting. So if you happen to miss one, or if you come across one of the other members that missed it, then you can just review the past minutes, the past meetings. So yeah, that is everything. I hope everyone has a good summer. I hope to see you guys in September, and for some of you sooner than that.
Thank you,
Okay.
Oliver.
No problem.
Thank you.
Have a good one, guys.
You.